Hey guys, welcome to another episode. This is Grandmaster Jerry Sassy Fonson. Let's talk about Sport Karate Illustrated and the Dojine. I'm a Power Talk. Today we have an opportunity to speak to one of my younger brothers from another mother, all the way from the South Side. What I mean by South? Florida, in my house, Hialeah, Manny, you know what I'm saying. Anyway, this gentleman is one of the few people who I can honestly say have actually been competing probably as long as me. He is not slightly more consistent, but more versatile, definitely, not just point karate and continuous contact and full contact, also MMA, plus I'm not going to count or discount on the professional wrestling techniques that he's also done. But the gentleman, when I first saw him, it was on the news, I should say, it was on television when he was fighting for Grand Champion, and what he had that was so cool was that he had his eyes painted like an Indian or baseball player getting ready to go play a game. And in addition to that, throughout the years, we had an opportunity to become real good friends. We're on the same team together. We'll talk about that. And, by the way, the person who actually was the manager of the team called me today, so I'm going to call Pops in a little while. But without further ado, this gentleman, don't know how to properly address his title, but at the very least, he is a sensei / master. I'm not sure. We'll find out. Manny Reyes Jr. Are you there in the house, sir?
Hey, Jerry. What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing super good and getting better. Oh, somebody told me that. So, you know how it is, man. This power talk, let me just cut to the chase. The purpose I do these power talks with Sport Karate Illustrated is to eliminate a lot of confusion. People really, honestly, just don't know, as your brother Alex would say. They just don't know the history because it's been changed throughout the years. So what I want people to know specifically is from the horse's mouth themselves. We're going to talk about the past, we're going to talk about the present, and we're going to talk about the future of your own personal career. In addition to that, we'll interject and have some conversation because we did have, you and I, some personal experiences which were pretty phenomenal. And up until recently, we even put a video that reminds me of a wonderful weekend in Capital Classic, but we'll talk about that. I'm going to put myself on mute, and all I want you to start to do, sir, is in the beginning, what was your inspiration, desperation, or motivation to become a martial artist? Take it away, sir.
Well, Jerry, yeah, you're pretty much accurate on everything that you mentioned. Man, I could go way back to, my father. Well, you taught a seminar there back in 1993, the legendary my dad's a legendary Hialeah school, which opened in 1972. Up until this year, we were there for 43 years, and pretty much, Jerry, I was born right down the street. My dad had opened the school that same year, and it's really all I knew. I mean, it was, being the son of a father who was 18 and a mother who was 15 and opening the school and trying to make ends meet. And it was like I was pretty much in the little baby carriage while my dad was at the school. And it's, all that, it just, you absorb it. And next thing you know, I'm 4 years old. I'm being taught my first class. Pretty much, Jerry, it's all I really was exposed to, and I loved it. And I started my first official class was in 1977. I was 4 years old, and the rest is history. I went through the 80s and, competing as a youth, and I started fighting adult black belt in 87, and that's when I seen you as a kid before that in the 80s fighting, and that was, believe it or not, one of the things that stuck to me. You want to talk about the history, and I always
wait, stop it, Mr. Reyes. I know you started the blitz, but let me just be the host for the time being. So one of the few people in the martial arts world that has a vivid memory, very similar to some crazy Puerto Ricans from the Bronx, is a Cuban from Hialeah. Now, I know you're a historian.
I'll tell you this. I'm going to tell you this. When I started my adult black belt career in 1987, I started documenting everything. I could bring out a book if we were, when I see you again, I'll bring out a book. I have every person I fought, every tournament I won, what place I took, what the score was. Back in our time, remember, it was 3 points. Whoever got the three, and there wasn't, and I have all that documented all the way till now, all the way. I kept records on myself after every tournament. And, that's why nobody could pull a stunt on me. You know how people make stuff up and then, in our sport and they start creating lies and, not me, man. I have everything documented.
Or changing history.
No, yeah, exactly. I totally.
Well, you know what? That's phenomenal, because this is what I believe. If your life is worth living, your life is worth recording. And if you don't appreciate yourself, then who else is going to do it? When it's all said and done, if you don't do what's necessary in order to expose the truth about you, no one's going to come and expose the truth. Chances are they're going to expose a truth as they see it, which could end up being a lie, because everyone has an opinion. But getting to specifics, you start at age 4, it's 1977, your parents were teenagers, similar characteristics with me. My son was born when I was 17, I was born when my mother was 16, so there's a common denominator. But besides your father being not just a school owner, but a competitor and legendary student of a founder of a martial arts style as known worldwide. No, not a participant. Literally, he looks more like Mr. Parker than Mr. Parker did sometimes.
Yeah, I agree, man. Yeah, totally.
So let's just talk a little bit about that. If you could, whatever you remember back, you started your martial arts lessons.
I remember back the 70s. I mean, as much as I remember, like, I don't know what it is with me, but I have a great memory. Even now at this age, I'm 42 now. But man, as much as I can remember Starsky and Hutch in the 70s and Kodak, I remember Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris being like, and you know, that was a special era for us, because everybody wanted to do this. Everybody wanted to be a martial artist. It was like, you understand, as a kid growing up and my father having a school, and that motivated me to, and then I would see the fighters, you know, my father fighting without equipment at tournaments, then the jewelry, safety chop came out, and safety kick, and that all came later in the late 70s that I could remember, you know. But man, all that combined, like, just hooked me. All I wanted to do was, and then I started going to school, and then it was school, elementary school, after school, go straight to the karate school and do 4 or 5 classes without stopping. Then it was go home. There was a routine. Even on Saturdays, Jerry, you know how it was. I mean, this was a 6, maybe it's Sunday even sometimes we train, but at least as far as like what I can remember as a kid, Monday through Saturday was the grind on this. It was martial arts. It's why we were so good in that era in the 80s, was so good and so technical, and the techniques were so good. And I have my opinion about today's, fighting, and it's like, it's really become the golden era.
We could talk about that too. But and again, obviously, guys, those of you who are listening, you know that this gentleman here, and maybe I should slow down a bit because I get kind of excited and people don't understand me. I know you do, but my point is that, see, guys, we are all in a big family. Commonalities that we've all had, whether it was inspiration from our family and or Bruce Lee or extended family members, having dreams and visualizing ourselves in movies and fighting against, or being side by side with maybe Chuck and Bruce against 100 foreigners, whatever the case may be. But what's interesting about, and again, sir, what's the proper title that you would like to be addressed as in your school? Because this is about martial arts, sir. What do they call you?
Well, they call me Mr. Reyes now. It used to be, there was an era where I used to be called Sifu because of my rank, and then, but Jerry, it's like, people think I'm not humble, but I am, man. They call me master, kind of feels kind of like, or they, sensei, all the titles that we have. I'm good with Mr. Reyes, what the kids call me. They see me as Mr. Reyes, and that's, to answer your question, that's what people call me nowadays. That's
wonderful. That's interesting because I went through the same exact transition. Now, I blinked that I'm going to be 50 years old this January, just, so, time does fly, and you blink and you went from the teenager to now 42 as one of the eldest, which is pretty interesting. Now, one of the things that I think is pretty important for people to know is that your father literally wasn't just a person doing a temple. He was a person who was literally spreading and revolutionizing, whether it was tournament, promotion, competition, and even spreading the style throughout other countries. Am I wrong, or am I just delusional? By the way, I left him a message.
My father was one thing I can tell you about my dad is that he had balance, the key word being balance. He balanced things out. He just wasn't a one-minded, you understand what I'm trying to tell you? He branched out. I mean, he was once under the Tracy system, and he wanted to get, with the legitimate, Ed Parker, American Temple system. Then the tournament thing was the same. He started out with a little tournament down here, and he expanded, and everything was a balance, so to have an overall balance of the martial arts. So you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right what you just said.
Well, there's a lot of history that's unspoken of, and it bothers me. Now, let me tell you what this is. This is my personal 300. If I went to war and I had only 300 people in the martial arts worldwide to put on my team, Mr. Manny Reyes Jr., you're on my team. You're on my 300. That's what this is about. And because of that, I want people to know there's a difference between the real deal and a bunch of other people.
Yeah, it's a lot of watered down now, man. That's the thing about, you talk about teams, right? You need to jump forward. But let me tell you something, because I want to put this out there. It used to be where, you had to be one of the elite fighters and earn yourself a spot on a team. That's one of the things I believe has hurt the sport. Nowadays, you could just buy a bunch of uniforms, create a name, and be on a team, and it's like, it wasn't like that in our time. You remember it was like, to be on a team, I mean, I remember you being on some of the elite teams out in the sport, man. I mean, it was amazing. But now, and if you made a team, you were one of the elite fighters. You earned that spot. But now, anybody, have you noticed anybody could be on a team? You just create a team. You could. I don't know. I don't like it. Yeah. I don't like it.
I cannot relate to whatever it is when it comes to teams, because even though we congregated with people, we were on what you consider more like the super friends. Martial arts is an individual sport, so when you speak about guys like Keith Vitale or even Tony Young, I don't care what team they were on. I was fans of them. It so happens that they got together with the X-Men or whatever you want to call it, and that's what was fascinating. Right. However, the individual is the person that I am a fan of, and I could give a hoot about the team, because I come from an era where the team was your school. That was your team, your family, and when you competed, it was your school versus somebody else.
Jerry, you brought up you're talking about that. You brought up the 1998 Capital Classic. That team that we had that year that went 10-1. That we beat TDS on stage. LaPan, Jotty, and Preston. You were with us. You were like a very big mentor to us that night, and you made us believe that we could pull off that upset, and we did. I remember you were like, you were a big mentor. But the thing is, my point is, that team there, me, Gus, and Alex, that was us three that fought.
There you go.
That was from my dad's school. That was not, this guy's from Ohio, this guy's from New York, this guy's from, no. That was us.
Well, Totally Awesome was my inner school team also.
I remember that.
All my students. And the only one that wasn't a student was Tony Morrison and Time of the Last Dragon, because those are my partners, my best friends. But right. That's my point, because when it comes to it, it really is about family. Martial arts is an extended family. We have as dysfunctional as any family could be dysfunctional. We have different shades and beliefs and so on and so forth. There's a common denominator. The average martial artist, if you take everything away, they're good people trying to help people.
I agree.
When you take away all the nonsense, they're good people. However, sometimes good people do some silly stuff based on who they hang out with, so birds of a feather flock together. Your company is very, very important. And we learned this from the most traditional form of martial arts, which is called family values. No te quiero con ese. Sometimes they're from the same family, relatives, I should say, and you still don't want them because they have bad habits. So that being the case, that's interesting. But what I want to talk about just briefly is your transition from what would be, and giving credit where it's due, obviously, because this is what it's all about, keeping it real. You're a teenager. You're competing. You're putting your name on your map, and your father's competing at the same time, which is really phenomenal. And he's also on the tournament circuit, and he's also doing seminars, and he's also doing a whole bunch of other stuff, right? And then you go to the adult division. Now, around you, the Tony Palmos, the James Siscos, the Gus Lugos, and the Reggie Toussaints, and a whole bunch of other people that you can add to. You wasn't in an easy place, buddy. And you came around and you shined with a technique that 99.9% of people would never think they could score with it, and it wasn't your height. So your timing, your distance, your rhythm, your reposition, all those things made that possible. So 2 questions. Who were the people around that time that you could give credit and props to? And how was it when you crossed over to the adults?
Well, I mean, I don't know what got into me. I mean, back, you remember back then we were doing the PKL. The PKL was back in the 80s was one of, the big thing. And then you could turn at 16, you could turn adult and fight adult men back then. Now it's not like that no more. But, Jerry, I don't know. It's just everything I just wanted to do. And one of my motivations was the fact that my dad was getting older, and I wanted to fight on the same team as him. Like, kind of like when Ken Griffey, Senior and Junior played together, and they actually hit back-to-back home runs in that one game. I wanted to do something like that with my dad, long story short. And I had a lot of guys around me that were, pushing me to telling me, you're going to be really good, or it's just going to, and they mentor me. It's going to be a transition, and, you're going to take your lumps at first. So I was so ready, Jerry, mentally, that and I convinced my dad. And in 1987, October 27, I have it written down, October 27 of 1987, I competed juniors at the Pan Americans, and that was it. And my dad later that day allowed me to fight men's black belt. And from there on, that was it. I fought a guy named Rob Gooch. I don't know if you remember Rob Gooch, but he beat me for first and second. I made it, and that was my first tournament as an adult black belt. From there, I didn't look back. It was on going forward. And I didn't win a tournament until, it was months. But, I took my lumps as a rookie. And it was a learning experience. And believe it or not, it's like the best thing that I did. It was great. It was so good. It was like, it taught me so much. But let's
do this. Let me get a little more specific, because when it's all said and done, those of you listening, you got Mr. Manny Reyes Jr., who is a martial arts, not just historian, but a participant creating history, that it continues. Now, to get more specific, only because you're the type of person that I can actually ask specifics to. And I'm going to be a little biased over here, because for whatever it's worth, there weren't 20 Latinos in the highest position that would really represent me per se as fighters. We did have some indicators, but there were gaps in between throughout the years. Now, in 1986, and your father has a team, and these people on his team includes quite a few people that I want you to mention, and then he goes to New York City, and he brings the team there, too.
I was there, of course, yeah. I mean,
let's talk about some of those experiences, but why?
I was going to talk to you about, I was going to mention that at the beginning of our interview. My dad being Cuban, and we're all Latinos, and that's a proud thing for us, whether you're Puerto Rican or Venezuelan, or he had Gus. You fought. I saw you fight all my dad's guys, Gus Lugo. I saw you fight Hector Sanchez. My dad had a student that wasn't on the team, but you fought him at the U.S. Open '81, Jose Brito, Cuban. So, anyways, my dad had a lot of Latinos on his team, which was, big for our.
Just for the record, I fought. Just for the record, I fought Jose Brito at the 1981 Charlie Brown Spencer U.S. Open in St. Petersburg,
I remember.
For first place. It was for first place. It wasn't that I just fought him. It was for first place. This guy was
for first place, and I think you defeated Hector Sanchez for first place to win the Liberty Classic as well. That was one of my dad's guys.
I think I hit him a little hard. I hit him a little too hard.
You hit him a little hard. I remember you hit him hard, and he got staggered. Back in the day when we could do that and get away with it, now you hit hard to the body, they start warning you. But anyways, adult black belt. But I remember that you staggered Hector. But that was that day that was one of the greatest performances I ever seen in my life. Because I always loved lightweights and middleweights. The heavyweights always got that attention, but when I saw the lightweights and the middleweights, remember at that time, there was the lightweight, middleweight, light heavy, and heavyweight division. There were 4 divisions total. But anyways, I saw you fight that day. You beat Mafia Holloway. You beat Gus Lugo. You beat Reggie Tucson, I believe. I mean, you beat the top of the world at that time, and then you ended up beating Hector Sanchez. To his credit, he made it to the finals for first and second, and he lost to you. But then what really, really got me, and I knew you were a Latino fighter. My dad really wanted you. Unfortunately, you had that accident at night, which was really like, I'll talk about it now. But I remember sitting at Madison Square Gardens in the crowd, and you fought Billy Blanks, and you were beating Billy Blanks so bad he couldn't handle your speed. He had to like try to rush you. You had the lead and this and that. And I remember somehow, I don't know how Billy stayed in that fight with his little cape and stuff, Budweiser team, all that. I don't know how. I guess, I mean, they were throwing points out there for him, but it was he ended up getting it 4-4 because you were winning that whole fight. I think you even hit him, correct me if I'm wrong, with a flying back defensive sidekick. Remember that?
Yeah, that was the one that he didn't like too much because I knew Billy's timing and tempo.
Yeah, exactly. When he tried to, and the crowd was going crazy, and the momentum was on your side, and he had to resort, which I can't understand to today. He had to resort to hitting you with that one shot, which I believe it injured your jaw or something, and that was.
It broke my jaw. That's why the teeth were crooked.
And but the thing is, like, if you look at the video of that fight, I have it in my head. I have it in my head. I remember that fight so well, and the way, and that really caught my attention. That as a kid, and every time I see you, I remind you that, Jerry, when you fought, that was the one fight in my as Latino that I was so proud of. And my dad wanted you to be, and you were going to come with us the rest of the way because I was the only junior on that team.
Yeah, I was we were the
MAO. We're sponsored by the MAO, right? The team that my dad had, but with the sponsor with the clinic. And if we would have had you, that would have taken us. So we couldn't beat Budweiser. My dad's guys could. If we would have had you, it would have been a different story, But then you had the jaw injury and you were out for the year. But my God,
hey, you know what? Just for historical reason, guys. While my jaw was wired, I still went to the U.S. Open, and I was placing in forms, and I finished number 1 in the region in forms because people don't remember that I used to do forms too.
I remember that. I remember a little bit about that. That's true. And you were then my dad's team, unfortunately, it dismantled. And then I remember about a year or two later, you were on that team that was sponsored by the airlines.
American Airlines, yeah, it was in '88, yeah.
Yes, yeah, and I remember seeing you then when you were on that team, and then you also fought at the U.S. Open. And Jerry, I followed your career, and I was like,
I followed you too. When I seen you, I said, "Hey, wait a minute, how come you're not dyeing your eyes? Come on, man! Remember I got on your case for that, because I love that."
And then I was honored when we were able to fight on the same team, and we did that seminar with Team UP in the '90s and everything. And
that's a legendary event. And then shortly after that, we were on the other team together with Pops, Bernie Krasnos, and the whole West Coast. Come on, baby!
And the NBL, and then I got to be on a team with you in the NBL with all the legends: Barry Gordon, Alvin Potter, Ray Wizard, Leo Creer, Dexter Brooks. I mean, hey, listen, Jerry, as a young kid coming up with all you guys, I'm in heaven when that's going on. In my career, here I am with these great legends. Oh, my God. Can you imagine? I mean, those are the sort of things that people don't understand. This is like a young kid being around, these legends like Dan Marino and Mark Clayton and Duper or Marcus Allen or, all these legends. I'm like, oh, my God. And how can I not have been who I became when I had the opportunity to be around guys like you guys? I mean, it was only going to make me better and successful and learn. I mean, that was an unbelievable group.
Let me just say this because this is what's really interesting. Realistically, even though Miami, I should say Florida, is a big competitive state, there wasn't a lot of competitors from Miami really representing at the highest level.
Well, Jerry, let me tell you something about Florida and Miami. Miami is a world in itself. You could take out all that Florida, up from Miami. Once you pass Miami, it's something else. Believe it or not, Miami was a world in itself. Our tournaments were different, and yeah, but I understand what you're trying to tell me. You go ahead and finish what you were going to tell me. about Florida and all that stuff?
Well, because the simple fact that, and I can't help it, guys, not that I'm going to exclude anybody, but I focus on these people who can identify with, and I can identify with Latinos, like you said. It doesn't matter if it was, Mexican, Cuban. It made me no damn difference. Anytime I fought and represented, I was representing for the Latinos. For example, in 1988, up until the last tournament of the year, which at the time was the U.S. Open, I was actually ranked number 1 in the nation, ahead of everybody. And some interesting things were done, but it wasn't allowed that a Latino would end up being number 1 until years after when you became number 1 overall. And I think recently, I'm not sure if Justin Ortiz did. It seems like I read something, but I don't know if that's the case because I'm so out of the loop. But my point is that you were representing a whole bunch of people unbeknownst to them. So when I saw you, I didn't just see Florida, I didn't just see Miami, I didn't just see Latino. I also saw the very few people who were able to cross from juniors to adults without skipping a beat. So you was doing that also, and I was pretty freaking, I was a fan. So I saw you on TV fighting against Tony Palmore at the USKA, Grand Championships. Man, I mean, what the heck was that?
Yeah, I was back in 1990 at the Omni. Yeah, and I got to fight Tony Palmer. He beat me that night. And I came back and beat him in 92, a couple years later. And everything just started falling into place. You mentioned Keith Vitale and Tony Young. Now that we're on the air, man, I wanna tell you something briefly that really propelled me to get to the next level. Tony Young kicked my butt so many times. Remember, I was 15, 16. I was fighting Tony Young. I lost him the first 8 times I fought him. And he busted my mouth. He just outclassed me. But you know what? That got me hungrier. Because there's 2 things that can happen when you lose like that, 8 in a row to a legend like Tony Young. You're either going to crack and give up, or you're going to get mentally strong and come back and fight and try to defeat him. Now, one of the biggest things that I'm most proud of is I was the one that took Tony Young's title away in 1993. By 1993, I had become the champion. I became the champion in 93, 94, and I beat him 4 times in a row. And to me, that was like, but, Tony Young is the greatest super lightweight of all time. Not Manny Reyes Jr., well, Keith Vitale, you could put him, but man, come on. I mean, Tony Young is a legend among legends. Yeah, you understand what I'm trying to tell you, right?
Super lightweight. Just so you know.
Super lightweight, right.
It goes Joe Corley, Keith Vitale, and a whole bunch of people, including the Tony Youngs, that were influenced because of footwork, fakes, and angles. But if you want to give credit to anybody in terms of that lineage, in terms of the study that I know, it really starts with Joe Corley, which I was shocked at that. Corley took it to the next level, because I didn't know that Corley was really the person who was doing the angles and the footwork way before most people were doing it. He implemented that into kickboxing, which is freaking phenomenal. But whether it's Tony Young, or rest in peace, Richard Jackson, or Jerry Prince, or Vernon Johnson, rest in peace, Vernon Johnson, Jerry Rome, all these people all worked out in the same place. And so just to give credit where it's due, when you talk about Atlanta, there's only 2 major groups in Atlanta. One was the one that I mentioned there, and the other group, which I already interviewed, at least Jesse Thornton, is the United Clan with Ben Kaika. So they had Randy DeLoach, Kenneth DeLoach, and oh my freaking gosh, Mitzi Tyler and Robert Harris and Jesse Thornton and James Harvey.
Team United with the yellow uniforms, United.
That's right, baby.
Yeah, Jesse Thornton, of course. Yeah, absolutely. But Jerry, man, for me to get over the hump and win the world title, or at the time it was the NASCAR national title, and then I had the NBL one, which that like history what this is not documented, which I have it, but I was the first one that held the NASCAR title and the NBL title in the same calendar year. Not only that, I won it as a wild card, which was the first in NBL history to do so. You were there. We were part of the Sherman Oaks team.
Guys, just so you know, this is not anything but just historical, documented facts. Manny Reyes Jr. is not lying. It may sound like we're bragging about things, so we're doing is reporting the truth. Now, the fact of the matter is that, as sad as it is, these questions in any other sport will be considered a trivia question in information and knowledge and history. That's one of the main reasons why Dojine, Dojo Online, Dojo in Hand is here, because when people have selective questions, selective memory, it does not give the true history of this great sport of ours. I'm committed to making that happen. Today, I'm interviewing a lady that some of you guys know who she is. Some of you don't know. You may know her son, but she's the first martial arts woman in terms of fighting and weapons and forms at a national level, and that's Malaya DeCascos, Mr. Mark DeCascos' mother.
Wow.
Yes. So I'm not playing around here, buddy. I am not playing around. I'm going to give everyone an opportunity to say the truth, because somebody has to do it. Nobody. I went to the Battle of Atlanta, let me just say this. And I have been fortunate this year, for whatever it's worth, good or bad or indifferent, to be interviewed not once, not twice, but 3 times by the so-called sport karate media, if that exists. Let's just call it that. And at Atlanta, they interviewed me for 2 different things, sport martial arts and something that Richard Plowden's nephew is doing. They walked past at least 15 people that they should have interviewed way before me. By any religion, walking around with their head down. Now, I don't like that, and this is wrong. So I'm going to do whatever I can to at least let people know the history, so they don't mess up something, basic in terms of knowing the terminology of a technique. Now, we know that a punch to the face could be a reverse punch, and number 7 on puño la cara, or yakazuki, whatever you want to call it. But the point is that this platform is for the purpose of educating people and motivating some others, because some of them still have the skills, and we want to somehow recognize them for things that they've actually done, and that's what this is, and not just because they paid money for a buffet and they bought a plaque and they never done a damn thing. Hall of Fame.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. But yeah, Jerry, I mean, you've always supported me when in 2000, when Raymond Daniels was having that phenomenal year, and this is when Raymond Daniels was like early in his career. I mean, I beat him at the U.S. Open. I remember you were there, and I beat him at the U.S. Open for Grand Championship, and that year I won the overall. And I remember you were very proud of me, because being that we're Latinos, man, that was the
first one ever, bro. That was huge, and that's the part that bothers me, because people had no idea what the hell we're talking about. When I see you and Raymond Daniels fighting in a division, well, you're representing a generation before that, even though you wasn't too much older, but you still were older. But more importantly, you was representing a Latino to me. And if that Latino could become number 1, oh my God, after all these freaking years, I would have done it in '88. It didn't happen. The closest thing to that might have been one of my students and teammates for you for a little while, Mighty Joe, Rivera. But yeah, I don't know how far I went, because I don't really know the specifics. You might know better than me. But yeah, that was very, very proud. All right, let's just backtrack a little bit, because there was an event that I think was very important, because at the time, if I remember correct, your brother Alex was very, very shy, still is, even though he gets into character. And Gus Lugo, not Gus Lugo, Gus, I forgot his last name.
Cayero, Gus Cayero, right.
Like, Gus is one of those guys that his confidence comes and goes. Very talented, but not consistent in terms of his confidence, And then we have yourself. And your guys were competing in teams. And for whatever it's worth, just for historical facts, I was asked to compete on the team. I said that day. I said, no, you guys can do it, because I had a fight with Joe Dawson. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I remember that time, and the fact that the only reason it seems like I was on those teams, I was older than these guys. Alex is only 6 years younger than me, and Gus the same. The only reason, because I started out so early, so young. So I was the veteran guy that had already been on Team Metro, and I was being looked. I could have been on Team John Paul Mitchell one time. That was a long story before that. But anyways, I was the veteran guy, and I remember our only loss that year in team fighting came at the U.S. Open. We lost to TDS, and they had blown us away, and Preston had destroyed, what's his name, Pedro Xavier, and it was a tough. So we looked at the matchups, and you were around, like, Jerry, man, you know, my brother had a little bit of an injury, and his confidence was a little bit, you know, down, and I'm like, man, Jerry, you want to step in and maybe fight Jotty, or because you knew Jotty from the Bronx, and I think Jotty was with you at one time or something. You and Jotty have a history, right? Something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong.
He was a former student of mine just for a little while. He didn't get his black belt with me, but he learned how to blitz and so on and so forth from my student. Exotic.
Right. I knew there was something. So I figured, Jerry.
I had spar with him more like as a former student who was out of line that was being disrespectful. So I whipped his butt 4 times, and there's one video out there. He has the rest of them. But anyway.
Well, Jerry, the long story short, this is what happened. And remember, I have everything documented. We won 13-11. It was a huge upset. Given the fact that we were the underdogs. But I remember I asked you, Jerry, the night before when we made it to the finals, we beat Team Elite Friday night, and we made it to the finals. We beat a couple other teams. And Jerry, man, and my brother was like, Jerry, you have that 4-man system where you have a guy that could come in if somebody's hurt. And Jerry, you want to fight Jotty, but you said, listen, you settled down and you said, listen, Manny, Alex is gonna fight Jotty. You're going to fight Preston. And Preston, keep in mind, I was a little bit like, damn, Preston just blew out Pedro and JPM not too long ago. Last tournament, that's how they beat. And I'm thinking, oh, my God, Preston was at the hottest point of his career at that time. And then and you go, and Gus, you're going to fight Le Pen, and you got to go. And remember, we used to send Gus out last. You came up with this strategy with us about sending him first because Gus was always our anchor guy. And Alex was our leadoff guy, and I was always in the middle. But you reversed things, and you made us believe if you guys play this out, you'll win this team fight. Damn, and sure enough, even though, like, you weren't officially our coach, you coached that team to the championship that night. That was you. And I remember you were there with the blue pants, and your fast fountain is in the back, and you climbed up on stage with us when we were celebrating. That was a huge upset. Now, Jerry, this is history. People don't like to hear the truth sometimes. But that's what caused the fallout between Jotty and Conroy. And Jotty next time around ended up going to John Paul Mitchell. And that was the demise of the TDS team. Do you remember that?
I remember that vividly. Because
it's a fact.
I remember. I tell you, this is what happened shortly after that. Shortly after that, all of a sudden, your young brother, and guys, for those of you who, again, are listening to this, Manny Reyes Jr. gets in character like any freaking superhero. You can't go in as Clark Kent and expect to have him. And Lois Lane doesn't even like Clark Kent, but she loves Superman. So when Manny Reyes Jr. goes into the Superman mode, because he's a quiet, shy guy. And what I was telling you guys was like, listen, step up, do your thing, you can do it. And yeah, I can't do a strategy, but you guys were listening and then was able to perform it. Afterwards,
we executed, Jerry. We executed, yeah, for sure.
Right.
But your plan was brilliant.
But this is what I appreciate.
It was brilliant because Gus let out and he blew out Le Pen 8-2, and I held my own versus Preston. If you look at the video, even though there wasn't a lot of reverse punches counted, I held Preston. I did my job. You see, team fighting it's not always about winning, but as the middle guy, I held them down, and we went into the last. We gave Alex a 4-point lead going into that last fight with Jotty, and Alex did what he had to do, and he cleaned it up, and we ended up winning. But you took me aside, being the veterans that we were. You having more experience than me, you took me aside and you go, listen, this is what you're going to do. Alex is going to fight Jai. I was like, okay. And then we went and talked to everybody. And then we went and we said, hey, whatever. We're not even supposed to be here. It's us against the world. And we pulled it off. But man, Jerry, that was all you. That was all your planning, to be honest with you.
Well,
you were an amazing mentor, Jerry.
Teamwork makes the dream work, baby. And that's something that people just don't get it, man. When I tell people it's about us All of us, that's U.S., all of us. Martial arts is supposed to be an industry working together for the betterment of all. And what people do is they have short-term pleasure and we get in long-term pain. They figure if they keep people uneducated, uninformed, that they're able to get over on them. That's like nipping your nose to spite the face. We all lose because of it. You know, it makes no freaking sense.
I know, dude.
You know, But let me tell you something what really made my heart warm recently. I'm not sure who it was, that somebody posted the celebration.
Alex, Alex did. Because
my God.
Pounding me. Jerry, you know how many videos I have of back in the 80s? And that's why nobody could pull a story on me. And, you know, because I have the history. I have it. I have a library of, as you do. Same. And you know what? That's part of hanging around guys like you. I have you on covers of magazines from the NBL, when you were on that magazine, when you were on the American, like I got all that regional, I got everything. So when people start making stuff up, I go and I go through my things, and I have them listed by year. So, I mean, come on, Jerry.
So listen, guys, listen up. That means that what's happening right now is that Mr. Manny Reyes Jr. is a competitor against me in terms of being one of the biggest fans of sport karate and the history. I think the only reason I might beat him is because I can go back to the 60s and whip out a Malaya the Castros on him, you know, because if I wasn't there, at least I could interview them about it. But this is what it's all about. You got to be passionate about this, man. You got to be real about it. Yes, sir.
Jerry, let me tell you something, bro. As crazy as this may sound, right? I was such a fan of sport karate. I used to get my WWF wrestlers, those rubber ones that you played with back in the day, and I used to flip a coin. One was tails, one was heads, and whoever was heads would get the point. They would go from tournament to tournament. And I remember I had this one guy. He was skinny, and he had one of those legs that you could bring up, and I would pump it, and I would pretend that was you fighting. I'm talking about when I was a kid. And then I would have the heavyweight division. I would have these heavy wrestlers, and they would, point fight, 1 point, reverse punch, and that's how much of a fan I was, dude. I used to do drawings in school of guys fighting, like Billy Blanks when he fought Mike Smith and that tournament in Long Beach. And you get me? That was my mentality growing up, Jerry. As silly as it may sound.
No. Listen, it's consistent.
Eat, breathe, and there's like
it's a sad situation. But believe me, the best is yet to come. Do you know why? There's still people alive that know the difference. When people say, wow, what happened to sport karate? I know exactly, almost to the date, because I can remember, like, for example, after that event in Capital Classics, all of a sudden, the shy Manny Reyes and the really super shy Alex actually started talking. And promoting, right?
We took different routes. I became, Jerry, you know me. We started talking. You're absolutely right. But you know me. I have a little bit of that Brian Bosworth, that Lyle Zato attitude in me, the Raider, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So kind of my talking, it messes with people's heads because I start throwing out the truth and people hate me for it. But come on, I don't like the sugarcoat stuff, Jerry. And as I've gotten older, I've gotten more hated and more hated. Just because
wait. Are you talking about me or you?
Well, me and you. Hey, just for the record, man, because I know time's running short. Let me tell you something. There's been a lot of great Latino fighters. I want to put this out on record right now. There's been a lot of great Latino fighters, okay? I don't know if you remember Carlos Montalvo and
of course, Puerto Rico,
Camacho from Puerto Rico. Come on, but hey, listen, and I could be. I'm just honored to be in the top 5, top 10, whatever. But I'm gonna go on record right now to say, and I want this documented. Jerry Fontanez, sport karate wise, is the greatest Latino fighter of all time. That's no doubt about it. What you did and the records you did and everything you won and all, and you came before me and and your skill set and man, totally.
I appreciate that.
You heard it here, man. You heard it here.
Yeah,
I'm telling you right now.
You know what? Muchas gracias, because I appreciate that. But to be honest with you, I think that whether it's you or I and a whole bunch of other people, man, we could have done so much more and could still continue.
I know.
Yes.
I know. I totally agree with you. But
hey, how about I tell you this?
You know what separates you from me? You know what separates me from you in this situation? Why I tell you that? I wish I was. I got the very last part of the 80s, man. You were already doing this. I mean, 70s, you know, and you were going through. You went through the 80s. You went through the golden era of the sport, and you won, and you did, and you're one of the best, greatest middleweights of all time, and one of the best pound for pound of all time. I saw you fight live. This is not that I'm watching video or nothing. And again, the memory I have of you. Even though, like, that fight was given to Billy because you couldn't continue because of jaw, you didn't lose that fight. That fight at Madison Square Garden was 4-4. That's how it ended out. They stopped the fight because the doctor didn't let you continue. You understand? But, man, of all time, no doubt, Jerry Fontenot, fast feet, no doubt. Right. That's going to stay like that because I don't see anybody on the horizon, not no Justin Ortiz. I mean, I could beat Justin Ortiz right now. I mean, I could still get down the lightweight division at 42 and win. I mean, I just, if you don't have that motivation, Jay, I don't have the fire to do a sport that just didn't get to where I thought it would be by this time. And I did everything I could to help it. I did, but... Hey,
listen, let's talk about that for a second because I remember, let's briefly talk about an event because, and muchas gracias, I appreciate the candor, and likewise, because I can go on and on about you. I mean, again, you're not supposed to hit anybody. On paper, there's no reason in the world why a guy as small as you is able to score 1 point, let alone be one of the highest win ratios in the history of sport karate. Let's keep it real. I mean, come on.
Well, Jerry, I got it written down. I won 103 matches and I lost 102.
But this is what I'm saying. This is like, that's ridiculous. You know, so what you did was against all odds, you know, and whether it was young, old, or short, didn't matter. But let's talk about an event that it adds to that entire thing with you being a person with the intention of helping the sport from your way, not just from a competitor. Lord of the Rings, baby.
No, I remember, Lords of the Ring. I mean, we still...
Let's talk about the event when you actually got me down there and I fought against somebody.
We brought you down and we had the crown champions. So that was the night that I defeated Bobby Harris from Philadelphia, a great fighter from Philadelphia. Bobby Harris, because Tankson didn't want to fight me, and Tankson had every opportunity to fight me. Jason, I didn't say nothing about Jason Tankson, but he was bragging about being a full-contact fighter, and it was a good time because we were both in our prime, but I guess he didn't want to step it up to at least to fight full contact. I don't know. But, I mean, I respect Tankson and everything, but he had every opportunity to fight me at that time. And we brought you in to crown the other champion, which you ended up fighting. You totally outclassed him, Eric Stahel. That you know, I have those fights on video.
Well, you know, that to me, I would be so appreciative if you was able to share that video because
Jerry,
this is what happened.
That night in 2003, that was a throwback to old school.
That was the true school sport karate, ISKA sanctioned. And how about when the crowd was booing me, and then towards the end they changed me?
The crowd started, and this guy was totally outclassed. I mean, because this young guy thought he was going to come in and win the title, and he had fought Lord before. He was a rated, guy. He was the number one contender or something, or number 2 or whatever. He was coming up, and he had fought me and everything, but
he made a mistake. On MySpace, he said something, and I'm like, what? And I think that's when he realized, but I think, this guy's a little crazy, maybe.
When you hit him at the, I think it was early in the fight, when you hit him with that double ridge and one to the body, one to the face, that's when you see his eyes realize, oh, my God, I'm in trouble. I remember that, because you used to
I think one of the rounds he wanted to quit, and you pushed him.
Yeah, I pushed him. Yeah, I did. He did want to quit, but, that's something you don't do. You don't.
No, you don't do that.
You don't ever, I mean, as much as, let's just face it, as much as Roberto Duran, he's one of the greatest middleweights or whatever,
heavyweight, anyway.
One of the fabulous 4, in all these weights. But come on, I mean, the one thing that happens when you quit a fight like he did.
Your reputation, no mas. For the rest of his life, is a no mas guy.
Every time I bring up Roberto Duran, everybody, no mas. I'm like, damn. But that's not really what it was about.
Roberto Duran was knocking out horses. Okay, Roberto Duran, before he became one of the fabulous 4, realistically, he already was a legend in the lighter division. So that, and, come on, man. People don't freaking know. They don't have no idea. He wasn't supposed to be fighting welterweight, middleweight. Come on, man. He was a super lightweight, featherweight.
First one to beat Sugar Ray Leonard, and that one, so I mean, but the thing is, that's why I told Eric, I pushed him, and I don't let none of my guys quit, Jerry. I mean, I lost 6 fights in my 25, in the 20-something plus years, 6 fights, one being the Hermes Franca MMA, and I got knocked out in that fight. I'd rather get knocked out the way I did, because that was a brutal knockout. He just got me. You lose. You win, you lose, and he knocked me out. I would have never quit. I mean, quitting is not, I'd rather die than quit, to be honest with you. See, Jerry, let me tell you something about guys like you and me, because I know we're running short on time, but let me tell you guys, if we go back in time, we get in a time machine, you and me, right? Guys like me would have been fighting in those Roman Colosseums, right? You get me? To the death. You get me? Guys like you and me would be in the old, wearing a night suit, fighting on those horses, trying to kill each other in the time of the night.
We're gladiators by nature. We can't help it. It's in the DNA. It's the truth.
I would have been Billy the Kid, and you would have been whoever, Wyatt Earp or whoever. We would have been those kind of guys, Jerry. And that's what separates us a lot from how the today is. You see, like when my son, and you have children too, when my son, if you see him, because I know you follow my son a little bit, and my daughter Vivian, I never allowed them to wear a chest protector. I've never allowed them to wear headgear. Now they have to do it in a tournament, and even in tournaments I get away with it. I say, yeah, he's got one on, but he really don't have one on, because I don't believe in that, Jerry. These kids are fighting like robots now, and that's part of the reason why the sports, they look like robots and astronauts, if you notice. It's changed. They're not using angles. They're not moving around. They're not using defense the right way.
Listen, I never changed. You never changed. And there's a whole bunch of other people who have never changed.
No, but I get criticized all the time, Jerry, because my kids, and I go, listen, my kid gets hit, blasted in the face, and I look at him, I go, do you know how many broken bones? All right, let's go. The way we grew up, Jerry, the way we did it. I got that from you guys, man. Come on.
That's it.
You know what I'm saying?
The bottom line is that we're supposed to prepare people for the real deal.
And we're giving them false, Jerry.
And with good reason. I mean,
Jerry,
good reason.
And I don't go off because one reason. I'm going to be honest on air right now. My father. Because my father's in the industry. My father's in the business. But if I start becoming and getting into things, I'm going to start degrading certain areas that are going to, it comes back to affect him. So I have to stay quiet and be. But you know exactly what I'm talking about, Jerry. Things have changed. It's not the same, man. And I don't know. It should have not been that way, dude. It should have not have been that way, Jerry.
I agree.
We're a special group.
Yeah, but you know what's so cool about this? And again, once you listen to some of these power talks, you're going to be so freaking excited, because learning new things is what motivates all of us. And sometimes that history that you didn't know about makes you even more excited, especially someone like you who's really not involved in the industry. That's, if they cut you, it's in your DNA. It's in your DNA.
Well,
John Longstreet.
It's just tough. Jerry, I could go back now, and let me tell you something. My style throws people off, because sport karate has become like what MMA is. MMA used to be style versus style, right? Karate was too. You had the Nisei fighters like Herbie Thompson and them guys, and and then you had the Taekwondo guys, and then you had the Kempo guys, and so on. Now it's pretty much a basic system. Show a person how to pump their leg, blitz. Everything's a blitz. But the defense is like, it's not the same as when we were coming up, Jerry. And that's why
I had one word for it. It's called disgusting.
Jerry, that's why I look at my fight at the Pan Americas 2014 versus the Venezuelan guy. And I mean, it's just a simple, basic shuffling in, reverse punch that Ed Parker would show, that Frank Trejo would show. I'm throwing some old names at you. Barry Gordon would throw. Even Nasty Anderson, just a basic punch. I got 7 of them. I beat the guy 7-2. Guys throwing these flashy kicks and trying to. Jerry, it's just changed, man. It's just changed.
Well, how about I tell you that this weekend that just passed in England, a tournament happened that was exactly what you and I are used to being a competition is. And Alfie Lewis. the World Martial Arts Organization. Alfie Lewis is the president worldwide. I was the president. Now I'm the vice president because I didn't go to of the United States team. Michael Dietrich is the president, so I brought him out. So he's my guy. And what happened was, just like you when you were doing Lord of the Rings, which was phenomenal, guys. Those of you who didn't get a chance to participate in that, because either you were scared or you just walking around, and you missed some incredible freaking...
Yeah, we tried, Jerry. In the early 2000s, we came out with that. Long story short, we ran it up until 2007, 2008. We wanted to take sport karate to the next level. Our plan was to put Lords of the Ring on the internet to watch, and now, you know, everybody's doing that now. That was a plan that we had before. Emily Cooper had her thing, and Alex had his thing, and that we wanted to put live fights on the internet for people to watch it, but full contact karate, and we were giving out money too back in that time.
Yeah.
But yeah. Man, but in your, tell me about Europe. I didn't know that was going on over there.
Oh yeah. So what happened was this. So I started this thing called UMAN years ago, World Martial Arts, Unified Martial Arts Network. And I threw tournaments, and if you swept the person, you would get a point. If you swept and follow up, you would get 2 points. So I was enticing people to throw those techniques that people loved, and because that's what I was used to. So I was able to get more people from England come to me, and to New Jersey. Then I even got people from New Jersey in many cases, which was ridiculous. But what ended up happening was I got people traveling from all over the world. But this was back in 2008, and my wife, our last child, Sophia, my wife almost died from that. She almost bled to death. So I had to take a back seat at the time, and I came up with this idea. I did the test market in 2008. So for 2009, I said, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna need help. So I got Garth Benz to be the director of New York. I got Marcy Holloway, which people hadn't seen in years, to be the director of Massachusetts. I got Joe Dawson to be the director of Maryland. And I said, let me start with this, because between Maryland and Boston, 33% of the people in the United States live there, so it's a highly condensed area. And I said, then I would have got 4 countries to participate in what would have been the first season of UMAN, a Unified Martial Arts Network, because they could fly to us in one flight and we could go to them. So I wanted to do a transatlantic circuit where you can fly there and back 4 times a year. So I had 4 international tournaments and also one world championships. My first tournament that I ever threw with UMAN was in Bourne, England. And it was Jason Morrison, who was also my distributor at the time for Rec Suits, over there in England. So, and then I did the same thing in Puerto Rico with Louis Cruz, and then in New York. So, but when my wife almost died, I stepped away and I told Marcia, Garth Benz, Marcia, and Joe, I'm gonna need a little time off, and to just get the ball rolling. And then Marcia and Joe turned around and changed the name of the circuit to Massmore. What's his name? Garth Benz stepped away from it. Yeah, Garth Benz stepped away from it. And then the rest was the same crap. So I'm saying, wait a minute. If I see a video and they're showing sport karate, you can't tell the difference between Massmore, NBL, Master, nothing. But when you saw the UMAN, you couldn't tell what year it was because it was real sport karate. 10-point spread, freaking real deal stuff. And whoever participated, and guys like Troy Benz participated, even what's this guy named from Ross Levine? He competed and participated. He was one of the first world champions. Nobody complained as a fighter because it was the stuff that we were used to, and nobody cried. It had to be in shape. So that was my test market. But when I went to launch it, my family got in the way, and then shortly after that, all hell broke loose, and I lost my, with Rec Suits, where overseas things happen, and I lost. I'm presently, for whatever it's worth, guys, I'm going to publicly say I'm presently divorced just recently. And it all stems from just the havoc that happened in my life, including losing a company that sold worldwide when it comes to the apparel industry, which was Rec Suits. So that's why it happened. But at the same time, I'm getting ready to relaunch it with my son, who works for the Foot Locker Corporation. So I'm here in Florida now, and I'll be here for at least until December, or maybe I'll relocate here. And I got some seminars lined up too. I want to share my information to try to educate people. But going to the Alpha Lewis deal, so I did this video, and in the video it says how I am disgusted with sport karate. And I put it on Facebook. This was November of last year. That video ended up having 5,000 views, which is not that easy in Facebook considering, it's not up that long, in about 2 days.
That's incredible, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the people that were making quotes, they were saying, you know what, that's right. And these people were very adamant, just like you, and me. And I said, so I said that. And Alfie Lewis was starting the World Martial Arts Organization because he had a fallout also with some of these people. And Alfie's a real deal. This is a guy that's legit. Fights, no joke. And his students were the same thing. So instead of me doing U-Band, even though I could have done that, I said, I don't care what it's called. If he can get the ball rolling over there, great. And then I went and got Scott Hogarth and this other guy from South Africa named Mohammed, and I put them part of the USAW more. So I recruited Canada, and I recruited South Africa, and then I had the United States. But then some challenges happened this year, so I couldn't go to England. So what I did was I sent Michael Dietrich over there. Now, mind you, this was the first one. The United States did have a team. Canada had a team, and they had a 400-something competitive world championships at the first one. So today I spoke to Michael Dietrich.
Relaunching everything, of course.
Right. So I asked Michael Dietrich today, are we going to go support and continue with the USA, with the World Martial Arts Organization? His answer was yes. So that means that there is a platform worldwide that's consistent with what we used to do. So what I'm personally going to have 3 tournaments this year. One of them will be in Florida, and I'm looking for state directors and people who are in the same mindset. I don't want to educate them except on the business practices. I don't want to have to teach someone what a kick or punch is. That's ridiculous.
No.
So what am I doing?
No,
I'm speaking to the people who came before us, and they say the same thing. The John Longstreets, the Rudy Smetleys, you understand what I'm saying? The Jesse Thorntons. So these people, they're like, you. So I have a solution to what the problem was. Imagine this. Throwing one tournament is not easy. I threw 3 of them in 1 year.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to learn how to do it. I was supposed to throw 4 with no sponsor while my wife was pregnant. I'm a maniac sometimes, But the point was in this that I still have that knowledge. My passion has not shifted much. I'm going to be 50, and I'm probably more dangerous now than ever. I fought last year at Capital Classics, and I won grand champion in that division at least. No, it wasn't young kids, but I won grand champion. I almost knocked somebody out there by mistake. I wasn't even trying to. And I was injured. I couldn't even kick. As if fast we can't kick, I'm still beating these people. I fought the year before that, I was awake for 3 days because I got to the point in my life where I was even working as a security guy in the beach. And I was a better job than working as a taxi driver, which was a whole other story. And I got videos to prove it. No shame in my game. If you're doing well, you're doing well. If not, whatever. I got it all documented to let people know that life is short and you got to make right decisions, and business is important because you got to take care of your family. That's the bottom line.
You're going to fall. You're going to end up falling at times. I mean, things at any age, because you could collapse. I've been there, Jerry. Trust me.
Keep it moving. Right, but this is my point. So now here I got a situation where I'm going to be 50. My body is still healthy. I fought Lee Ireland's going to have to get public credit for this. Lee Ireland calls me and he says to me, listen, I want you to compete on my team, Executive Edge. And this is 2013. I'm like, well, who wants to see a fat old Jerry Lawrence in this fight, What it was I was going through a major separation with my family during that time, and I'm working as I was not in a position, I hadn't sparred in 5 years.
Right.
Sparred. Which I couldn't even believe that it was that long before that. So then what ended up happening and I said, okay, I'll give you my word, I'll compete. Well, this was July. This tournament was in August. I hadn't fought in 5 years. I'm working 16 hours a day, and then I don't have anywhere to train. So I came up with this idea, and I said, the UFC gym had just opened up, and I went in there on Sunday, and I got a job as a trainer. It was for me to work out, to try to lose weight, to get my time and tempo rhythm going, to not just spar, because I wasn't, I was working all the time. I was only sleeping, an hour or 2 a day, which was insane. But anyway, that was happening. I went to that tournament, and I videotaped 3 videos before I got there. I'm going to do this and you understand this. In marketing, there's a thing called a pre-launch. And pre-launch, you pre-frame people's mindsets. Anytime I competed in the past, I always got the crowd involved, whether they were cheering or booing. Like in 1996, when I was fighting against what's his name, Moody over there, Calvin Thomas student at the U.S. Open, and I told him
Duncan Moody, yeah.
Yeah, I had knocked out Duncan Moody in the Battle of Atlanta a few weeks before that. I beat him there, but then over there they did some interesting stuff. But what was wonderful about it was that I got the crowd involved, yelling and screaming, so at least they could remember the name. Anyway, so I said, if I was managing myself, what would I do to get people to think that I'm in shape? So I did a video, 45-second video, because anybody can look at it for 45 seconds, you know. And in this video, I showed my secret to stretching. And I did that. And I did another video, my secrets to kicking. About 45 seconds, I did that. Then I did another video, my secrets to footwork. Now, mind you, they were all about just around the 1 minute mark, just shy of it. And I was out of shape, but I could look good at least for that amount of time.
Absolutely. And
then I started doing footwork on the beach, because that's where I was doing the security after the hurricane, and I was working 12-hour shifts there, which made it easier now so I can actually work out a little better instead of working 16 hours like I was doing in the taxi, but it was still 7 days a week. I even did a video the night before on what to eat the night before tournament, complex carbohydrates. Then I did a video on my way going to the tournament. It took me almost 3 hours to get there. You know, and this is part of a little documentary that I have footage for that I'm going to put together. So I finally get to the tournament. People are looking at me like I'm some homeless guy with a disgusting look in their face, right? They're looking at me like I'm a piece of crap. And I was heartbroken because out of these people, you know, I thought they were my friends. No problem. But then I had some other people who did not treat me anything different, my real friends. And I was pretty surprised at who they were, too. I was like, wow, this is pretty interesting. God's giving me my real friends, you know, and I can see it. I fight in the tournament. I thought at 3 o'clock I was going to compete. I got there at 8 o'clock in the morning. I left work. No, I got there at almost 9 o'clock in the morning. I left work at 6 o'clock in the morning. I've been awake for 3 days because I'm working 12-hour shifts and I'm working at UFC gym. So the last time I had slept, it was Thursday, because in order for me to make $1,000, I have to work a week. But I had a client who needed a website, and I made his website in 1 day.
Wow,
get $1,000. Yeah. So since I did that, I couldn't go to sleep. So now I slept on Thursday. It's Saturday morning, and I'm going to compete. I'm hoping I can compete around 12, which is what they told me. And then finally they said 3 o'clock. Before you know it, I didn't compete until like 6 o'clock or something, some ridiculous thing. I fight the first person, and I have no idea what's happening. It was the most exhausting out-of-body experience I ever had. Your father was the center referee. I look at the fight afterwards, and I have no belt on. I have no uniform on, and I realized I left the uniform in the damn bathroom, and someone stole it. I didn't even know that until I got home. I fight the first match. I fight the second match. Don't ask me what I did. I had no idea until I watched the video because I was that tired. And then the final match was against Joe Dawson, which I dropped him at least 3 times. Or I should say staggered him at least 3 times. No kicks, because I haven't, you know, I'm out of shape. And I took first place. I had sparred in 5 years, was awake for 3 days, and they couldn't beat me. I'm not bragging. There's just something wrong with that picture. For me to be able to win like that, it's something wrong with that freaking picture. Anyhow, then I did the same thing at the Capital Classic the year after. But this time I was injured, and I brought my son, and I won. That time it was grand. And then, God willing, on November 7th, I'm going to be at a tournament called the Pan American Internationals, sponsored by your dad. I called him earlier, left him a message before I spoke to you, and I want to go compete.
Wow, Jerry, that's great. I'm going to get to see you.
Yeah, but this is what I'm talking about. And we can
I had no idea you were coming. You know what that's gonna cause me to do now? That's gonna cause me to get my son to watch you because I have my son watch. Anytime I see, James Sisko's still fighting. He's 61.
Yes, I know. Absolutely.
Okay.
I know.
So this is what I do. Oh man, he's gonna get to see somebody.
Let me tell you what you did. Let me tell you what you did to me. Manny Reyes Jr. is the #1 daddy in social media. Extremely proud of all his children. No, I'm just be honest because
Jerry,
being a daddy is important. Being a daddy is important, and a lot of people have never had that opportunity to really interconnect. My son, Jerry Fonson, is the second, and my grandson, Jerry Fonson, is the third. We're in the same room, and I'm like, coño, that's 3 Jerry Fonsenas in one room. I feel completely blessed. I'm going to be 50 years young, and my body can still do everything I did before, which is kind of crazy. As a matter of fact, in that little event at the Twin Towers, somebody asked me to pop up from the split, one of Sean Elliott's students, and we videotaped it, and I did it. The split and popped up, which people in a lifetime never been able to do that. So my body, I've been blessed, thank God, that I've been pretty healthy besides the broken jaw. That's the reason why the teeth were crooked, but I kept it like that to remind myself, keep your mouth closed when you're fighting. But that's a whole other story. My point is that the best is yet to come, not because I'm just saying it, because I've done some planning and I'm putting together a team of people of similar mind. Now, for whatever it's worth, from what I understand, Michael Dietrich has already spoken to your dad and even has a table set up at your father's event for the USAWMO. He has a table set up for that. So I might be there for that also. But I really want to go because I want to show people via videotapes, or I should say video, because there's no tape no more. I'm showing my age, right? Education, information, and application, and motivation that is possible. Doesn't matter.
Well,
next season, possible, if I can see,
especially with social media now, Jerry, with all these outlets and all these, there's ways to get everybody educated. It's not the days when we used to have to mail stuff in the mail, and I mean now we can put it out there.
Well, how about I show you
what you're doing?
Mm-hmm. Right, I make websites, I make mobile websites, and I make apps, and I'm in charge of doing all that stuff. And we're going to do it for the PKA also. All those past, present fighters, I'm going to be interviewing them similar to this, and we have a section called the PKA Legends. I mean, the gentleman that I'm going to do later on today is Troy Dorsey. Troy Dorsey.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about the only guy who actually won the world championships in point karate, continuous contact, full contact, and boxing.
And in boxing. I remember watching him. I think it was NBC or one of those networks when he won the title. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right, so I'm interviewing him also. I really did the Ray McCallums, even Rudy Smetley's, So I've gone across the board, whether it's competitors, point, and what have you. I mean, I got a video. I did Michael Coles, and Michael Coles talked about how he was motivated by Bruce Lee to do martial arts, and in 1967 he goes to a tournament to compete, and sure enough, Bruce Lee's there, and his instructor, Grandmaster Jun Lee, and him started traveling all over the place as Bruce Lee was hanging out with Jun Lee to learn how to throw the Taekwondo kicks. That's historical facts, but those pictures are in
Dojine.com/Coles. So this one here will be, this is the same thing. It'll be Dojine.com/ in your case, I'm going to have to put M. Reyes Jr. because I'm going to do your father, so it'll be M. Reyes. And I'm going to do Ernie Jr. and Ernie Sr. You understand what I'm saying? So we're giving up, and I'll put whatever link you want. I'll put photos that you choose, and it'll be like your own personal website linked to all the people who I believe are the real freaking deal. So there's enough real deals people still around that literally do not have to be educated. They may have to be motivated, but they don't have to be educated. And there's also a bunch of people who are motivated but need to be educated. So that's the goal here, to be able to give a people the opportunity to say the truth. It makes no sense to me on paper that sport karate, point karate, whatever you want to call it, I call it sniper fighting because to me, I came up with this idea. I said, if these people today are doing point karate or sport karate, then we must have done something different. So we're entitled to try to do whatever we want. So I came up with a name. I said, it's like sniper fighting. These guys were sharp, precise, and on point. Their arsenal was incredible. They had their own individual styles. Even people who were in the same school had their own styles, as opposed to mimicking everybody and copying everybody, trying to be on a team together instead of trying to get better and beating people, which is ridiculous. That's a whole other story that we could talk about. But now, when it's all said and done, there's enough people still alive today that know better. They might be the minority. Absolutely. They might be, but I'm congregating them, including the James Siskos and the Tony Palmores, who, just so you know, Tony Palmore and James Sisko, even though I didn't follow up on them because I had some challenges. I relocated to help Master Joe Corley in Georgia, for about 5-6 months. And but they were part of the directors for the state of Florida for the USAWMO.
Right.
I already reached out to them months ago. So there's people out there that are saying the same thing. Man, I wish, the Luis Fernandez, who I know from New York, who I interviewed his instructor for 3.5 hours, who did movies back in the day. That's a Latino Bruce Lee, that most people don't know, Charles Bonet. So my point is that I would rather have 200 competitors that are doing things the right way and to see 2,000 doing some nonsense. But absolutely. I know because of marketing, it doesn't have to be 200. Someone just wrote on Facebook, and this was really interesting. He said he showed the demonstration of my kids doing a demo, and then he wrote in the bottom that I brought him 200 competitors that day. He didn't say that I brought him 400 spectators, too. So I had the power to bring 200 competitors and 400 spectators, which is a tournament in itself. And I never asked for a dime because I love the sport, and the sport was what helped me. However, today I have a different business model that was successful as a test market, like any real business person does, way back in 2008. And for whatever it's worth, at least 100 people also are going to have what was known as rec suits in time for Christmas. So the order's already in. So that's great. The best is yet to come. You interact with people of similar mind and you're able to do something, because that's a question in itself. Here we are, 2015, and for whatever it's worth, no one's been able to duplicate long-term successfully even what I did with rec suits. So obviously I must have a formula that works. And I still have the passion and the desire, and I'm still a fan of martial arts, and now I have more of a reason. My second grandson is being born. I want to make sure that he has a place to go play a sport that I played, and not a sport that looks similar because it has the same. This is what I said. 1980s, basketball. The ball had to go inside the hoop. 1989 is when it really changed. But in 1989, let's just say that all of a sudden all you had to do is hit the rim. But let's call it the 90s. If it just hit the rim, how many spectators would have came? That's not basketball. You would have lost the game.
No, you would have lost, of course.
Okay, well, that's what happened in sport karate. 2000.
I agree. Wow, you can't put any better than that.
Hit the backboard in 2000. Just hit the backboard. 2010, just throw it in the court.
Yeah, you're right.
Again, I don't want to be the old man that's play hating, because I think that potentially-wise, we have a greater potential ever, but it's going to take education, motivation, inspiration, and education. It's going to take a bunch of stuff. And the ball already started rolling. There's a bunch of other people that already have the same desires, and I've been able to congregate with them, and we're going to do it under the USAWMO banner. And if for some reason that doesn't work out under that banner, because it changes once you get to England, even though I know it won't, because Alfie Lewis is more adamant than even you and I, because he goes with 100 competitors to tournaments, and it's the same thing. It's like, this is big and bullcrap. Anyway, I know we split it off. This becomes interview 1 and 2 combined. I'll edit it, do all types of stuff. But bottom line is that I want to ask you 2 things. First, is it possible for us to visit you in the future and tap your brain into success techniques and so on and so forth?
Oh, absolutely, Jerry. Always make time for you. Oh, my God, yeah. Of course. Because
just to be fair, it will not be able to just be one interview with you, because here we are well over the 1 hour mark, because I could be here forever. I know you have the school to teach at, and I appreciate that. Oh, that's another thing, too. For those of you listening, if you want to run a successful martial arts school without being a sellout, I have strategies, because nobody can ever say that my students sucked. There's a way to have a lot of students and still have quality. Don't let anybody tell you that that's not possible. I had 1,000 students with 6 schools, and I did 6 figures a year of personal income throughout the 1990s. And I did it my way, which means stuff that actually works. So if I did it, man, you can freaking do it. And over at Dojine.com, I have mentorships and audios and all types of stuff that's there for free for school owners. And also people to hear these interviews of these pioneers and legends that won't be around 10 years from now. You know? Sir, any parting last words? Give some props to whoever you want right now, please. This is for you, Mr. Manny Reyes Jr.
I appreciate it, Jerry. I appreciate you having me on, man. And it was great talking to you, man. I look forward to seeing you November 7th. You heard? Hey, Jerry, don't forget I'm fighting that night, November 7th.
Well, don't forget. Well, if you're fighting at night on stage November 7th, where do you think I'm gonna be?
Well, you're gonna be right there next to me.
Who the hell's gonna stop me? Who the hell's gonna stop me freaking from being next to my freaking friend, my younger brother, freaking Manny Reyes Jr.? You know, no one will stop me from that. If they try, they better get guns.
It's gonna be an all Latino fight. I have a little project going on, you know, for guys like my son who like kickboxing or full contact karate. See, because if you ever looked at my it's just that we're trying to revive. And I've spoken to Joe Coley a lot about the revival of American kickboxing here in this country. If you look at the way I fought point kickboxing, it really, it's
full contact. You did full contact.
Yeah, but I did karate. You see, like when I beat Chris,
what I mean, you did full contact karate the same way Ray McCallum did. You didn't do kickboxing. You did full contact karate.
No. I mean, yeah, I learned the basics of boxing, Jerry. But the bottom line is, if you look at the best examples, when I broke Chris Algieri, you know Chris Algieri from your area. Chris Algieri fought Pacquiao.
Chris Algieri fought against Pacquiao, and you freaking broke his nose. And also, just for the record, guys, I want everybody to know that there was a big mistake that was done, and I'm sorry, Mr. Cole and anybody else, and I don't care who the hell the judge was, at the Battle of Atlanta when you officially lost and you did not freaking lose, and, you know, to the Brazilian guy. That was nonsense. For whatever it's worth, that was nonsense.
Every fight, every card ended up with him winning 29.5 to 29. I don't know how it happened. I even hit him with a right hand in the fight where he put his glove down when he fell, and they didn't give him a 10 count. But anyways, Jerry, long story short, for kids that like kickboxing and full contact karate stuff, you know, and you know with the PKA having been gone, and I know Joe Cody tried to relaunch it. We've been trying to revive it somewhat here in Miami, and I started out by doing it with a project that my son has. It's called the MR3 Foundation, where we help. I don't know if you've seen some of my videos driving around with my son, helping, giving food to the homeless. And
let me just say this. Since March, I disappeared from Facebook. I've been back not even 10 days. I had to leave. But
my son, during the Haiti disaster in 2012, long story short, this is where the MR3 Foundation began. MR3 meaning Manny Reyes the third, because he's the third, and when I have another son, the fourth, you're talking about your grandson and your son being Jerry Fontaine the second, third. They're all extensions of you, you know, and extensions of me, you know, our children. But Jerry, long story short, he collected 10 bags of clothing, my son did, and shoes, help out the kids in Haiti during that Haiti disaster back in 2012, the hurricane. I said, man, you got a good heart. Then he'd bring me stuff for school, Jump Up for Heart, American Heart, you know, cancer, St. Jude's, whatever. And I saw that he was so interested in raising money to help these children that we started a foundation for him called the MR3 Foundation. And long story short, I don't fight like I used to anymore, traveling the country, but I've been fighting in charity fights where we do them to raise money. Like the last one that I did July 25th, I knocked out a guy in the third round named Pistol Pete Davila, and we raised money for the Wounded Warriors. November 7th, we're raising money. That fight's going to be partial proceeds go to breast cancer awareness. So, and it's a Latino fight. I'm fighting Javier Rodriguez from Puerto Rico. So it's going to be a good cause, and I'd love for you to be there with me, Jerry.
Right?
By my side, you know?
No problem. You know I'll be there with no problem. And this is my point, guys. Those of you who are listening, when I call Manny Reyes Jr. my brother, I'm not just trying to be cute. family you're born into, or they choose you. Relatives have the same last name. Just because you're relatives doesn't mean you're freaking family. You know, there's been occasions where Manny Jr. and I have had conversations, and before you know it, 3-4 hours have passed by because that's that much information. Now, so you know this, Manny Jr., I literally am trying to motivate other people to do what I'm doing. I started what's called the Martial Arts Media Association. And I'm going to congregate these guys because some of them don't have the skills to really put the platform properly for them to be able to market and promote. That's my expertise, even in the digital world. And because even if 100 people were doing interviews, that's not enough people for the amount of stories that are out there.
I agree.
People, I mean, and I love these people, and it saddens me that others just walk by them like they're some old men. It's disgusting, and I don't like it. And if I can do something about it, damn it, I'm going to freaking do it. There's no reason in the world why anybody should walk to me and interview me at a place like the Battle of Atlanta without interviewing, at least, they didn't interview Vitali. He was there, Jerry. All these people were there. They go, are you freaking kidding me?
Jerry, yes, I agree with you totally. Mm-hmm.
You know,
totally.
And my point is, we can do something about it. We could talk about it. I've always been about it. And that's one of the things that, the reason why I'm going to go out there and compete, and as sad as it sounds, guys, at age 50 next year, if I choose to do my category, which I don't see how I'll do that, but let's say I did, I will be the youngest person at age 50 in a division. Those guys would have to press, I'm afraid they're going to press charges. They can't do it. But they should be able to. And if I can motivate people, I'm up at 5 o'clock in the morning, 5 days a week right now. That's my routine. It's been 2 weeks, and my body's responding phenomenally. You know, and I'm looking to do some seminars. I'm doing one in Orlando, you know, but I'm going to set up as many as I can while I'm here to be able to spread the information, because it's not my information. You know, it belongs to all of us. And Manny, I'm so proud of you. I appreciate you. I'm proud of you. I'm looking forward to the best being yet to come. You know, sometimes, you know, God works in mysterious ways, but you know, I know your father and I have had some incredible conversations, and including the days that he lived in New Jersey, you know. So
Well, that's where he went from Cuba to New Jersey. That's where he played baseball in New Jersey, minor leagues and everything. So I mean, in New York of all places. So you know, you're very familiar. That's your territory. So that's what the roots of my family when they came from Cuba. I was born in Miami a few years later, but that's where he went first. 1969, Jerry. 66,
yeah.
Sorry, 1966. So, we have a major connection to Jersey. Major connection.
One of the reasons why, you know, I feel one of the things that made me sad in recent years that I didn't get a chance to do, and I get a chance to do November 7th, is to go to your father's event. So that event has so many other Latinos there from Central and South America that a lot of them I've never had a real chance to communicate with, and I know that they know of me. And I want to make sure that they know that I appreciate it, you know? I mean, I've gotten love.
Jerry, with you being there November 6th and 7th, I mean, with the amount of Latinos, you know, my father's major base is the Latinos that come from Central South America. And with the name you have and the legendary status that you have, especially from our Puerto Rican friends like Ramon Fernandez, everybody's going to be there. I mean, that's going to be a big, huge thing for the sport, you know, because, Jerry, like I said, you are the greatest of all time when it comes to Latino fighters. I mean, nobody did it better than you. And speaking of the legends, it's sad what you were saying about, because they were, you know, some of the guys were being ignored or this and that. Let me tell you something, and this is why I go around when I see a legend of the sport. See, I look at Pedro Xavier and I think of, like, his status. I tell my son, that's like a Michael Jordan. Or I'll look at Richard Plowder and I say, hey, man, there was a guy named Robert Parrish who used to play for the Boston Celtics. I look at guys like that. You understand? Terry Kramer, even Nasty Anderson, and all you guys, man. When I see you guys, I go, oh, my God, these guys are the legends of the sport. That's how I see you guys. Like the Magic Johnsons, the Larry Birds, the Jordans. Oh, my God. You get what I'm trying to tell you, right? That's how I view you guys.
Listen, And this is the thing. This is what's so weird. First of all, I agree. But those people you mentioned, I'm their fans too, right? Because that's what it is. I'm going to be 50. And two people in recent months said the same thing, which was pretty interesting. They thought that I was older than them. And I said, well, why would you think that? And one person said, I think it's because you have so much knowledge. And I appreciated them saying that. But I'm only 50, and those guys are in their 60s.
Right.
And my average competitor, because I started fighting black belt when I was 17.
Right, I know.
And today you're going to see a photo on Facebook that I'm going to put fighting against my favorite pound-for-pound fighter ever from New York, which was, rest in peace, Gian William Oliver. I also have a photo. I have a photo there, the only photo that I actually know of the person who taught me how to listen, which was rest in peace, Joe Louis.
Right.
So I always believe in standing on the shoulders of giants. When I was throwing the kick and the punch, I was making believe that I was, mimicking the Keith Vitalis and the Ray McCallums and the people like that I read about in the magazines. I never had a chance to take a look at, to see them in person until years after. Thanks God to Facebook. You see a fight like Ray McCallum versus Scorpion Barrage. Oh, my God. Then I think about Scorpion Barrage. This is a guy that, he was 10 years older than the old guy.
Scorpion Barrage. Oh, my God. Yeah. You see, all those guys, I mean, when you think about, actually, every time I see those guys, it's like, oh, my God, I can't believe I'm around these people and, like, the Vitalis. I mean, when I see, even the guys I fought against, the Bradys and Donald and Ronald Brady, I mean, all that era that I was in, and the guys that came before that, Tony Young, I hold them to the highest, standard, and the Jerry Fontanezes, the Nasty Andersons, all those guys that were, before me, man. And I got to actually be on teams with you guys. That's the great thing. That was one of the reasons I wanted to hurry up is because I wanted to be on I wanted to try to make a team with, and I was on Metro with Nasty and stuff, and I wanted to be on teams, but even though it was later in his career, and I wanted to be on teams with someone, and I got to experience that. The greatest was like all those legends from Sherman Oaks that we were with, man. I mean, I was on a team with you and Alvin Prouder and Dexter Brooks and then Barry Gordon, Leo Creer, Ray Wizard. Oh my God, I was in heaven, like I told you.
And what's really funny too is that not only that, but the person who took all those pictures. I mean, we used to joke around. We had, listen, this team has not only they got black guys from South Central, but they got a Samoan from Compton with Butch Tagasalis, right?
Butch, right.
They got a Cuban from Florida. They got a Puerto Rican from the Bronx.
From New York, Gary Lee. Gary Lee Hawaiian.
Right.
Gary Lee was from Hawaii, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Gary Lee from Hawaii. And then you also had the young kid who ended up being a phenomenal fighter and also representing not only the military but law enforcement.
Rodney Solorzano, yeah.
Who took my Bronco kick and made it freaking a West Coast technique also.
Absolutely.
More than one workout, man. And Pops called me today, which is crazy. He just called me today. And in another 2 hours, a little less than 2 hours, I'm interviewing Malaya de Castos, Mark de Castos' mother.
Amazing.
Mother Castos. I mean, so this is what I'm saying. I feel completely blessed. I'm blown away when any of those guys know who the hell I am. That blew me away. I didn't know that. Rudy Smetley and John Longstreet, they mentioning things, or even Marty Knight, man, but come on. But all these guys, I already did them all.
I was listening to a couple of those interviews with Vitali and Marty Knight. Marty Knight, who I was with on Team Metro as well, 1992. I got to actually fight with him. Me, him, and Paul Edwards on one of the squads one time. So, I mean, man, I'm just so lucky to have been on teams with guys like you, Jerry, and Marty Knight. And, my God, when I look back and you mention these names, it's like I could connect because it was amazing. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's why I'm taking them and making them into current events for whatever it's worth. So within the next hour or so, Mr. Reyes, you're going to have your own personal page that I'll send it to you, and you use it any way you want.
I will share it, absolutely, Jerry. Appreciate it.
I want people to know the real deal. And I'm sorry that I went off on a tangent, ladies and gentlemen, but when we talk, a lot of history and information and passion will be shared. I believe the best is yet to come. There's no question about it. We're living in the dark ages of sport karate right now, or whatever you want to call it. But there are enough people who know the difference, and we have the energy to share it. What you're doing, what your son has as a heart is phenomenal. You know, God bless him. I'm looking forward to meeting him in person. I think I saw him when he was little. I'm not sure, maybe as a baby. But
you saw my daughter. You saw both. Yeah, my God. I mean, like, I can't believe they're gonna get to see you fight. It's like when I had them see Jay Cisco, I'm gonna come out of retirement. Oh my God, you know, I can't believe. So they could see what I saw back in the day, man. And that's what I want. I want them to see what it was like. Cause you guys, you know us guys, Jerry, like it's like riding a bike. You always have the technique. It's not like now, man. I'm just disappointed. That could be a subject in itself, Jerry. But, man, if I get a chance to have my son watch one of the guys that I used to watch fighting, now I jump on it. Believe me, he'll be right there watching you, Jerry. Big fan,
right.
Trust me.
I appreciate that, you know, and I feel blessed that my body's able to actually
absolutely. The kid's going to ask you for an autograph. I already know he's going to want to take pictures with you. So, man, I'm really, really so happy that I just found out that you're going to be fighting November 7th. Well,
nobody knew this. What happened was I started training last week with my son, who's pretty overweight, but I've always been the person to get him in shape. So he's waking me up now at 5 in the morning, you know, and we're working out. And I say, well, there's a tournament November 7th, you know. I say November 7th, but we know it's 6th and 7th. Then I made a phone call last night just to make sure I had a place to stay with no problems, and sure enough, a very good friend of mine said, are you kidding me? I got a room here. So I may go a few days either sooner or stay later, one or the other, but I want to make sure that I make the most out of this trip here in Florida, because when it's all said and done, there's so much history and passion. And I wish I had a videotape of when we did that seminar over in your dad's, man, because I was freaking...
Yeah, 1993, October, right after we fought at that one tournament that we won all the divisions, remember?
Yeah.
That tournament down in Fort Lauderdale, yeah.
Yeah.
Next day we did the seminar.
Yeah, in fact, somebody out there too.
Yeah, I remember. I still have the flyers somewhere up. I got to look, because I have them up in a file. I have the flyers of that seminar. Rob Hartman was the one that was, Greg Silva was the team owner. My dad was the head coach, and Rob Hartman was the general manager. And Rob Hartman had those flyers done. So I have all that. I mean, I get you copies of that stuff.
Yeah, well, if you could send me stuff via Facebook, at least I won't lose it. But hey, what is the chance, and what do I have to do to get to see the Lord of the Rings thing? Can we put that over at Dojine?
I could film it. I could put it up on Facebook. You could do whatever you want with it.
That'll be great, because I want people to know, because again, as we speak in here, I could have been putting the video in the background while some of the stuff was happening. You know, when it comes to production, let me just put it like this: I am here to help. There's some skills that I've been able to acquire as a internet marketer, and I want to use it to help people recognize the truth. The truth is that there's a lot of good people, pioneers and legends, that are walking around right now thinking that they have no value, and that's not right. I am a fan of theirs, and so are other people, and they should be appreciated when they're alive and not dead.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you, Jerry. What you're doing is great. Absolutely. I'm going to get that video. I got to look for it. I know I have it in my library. Look for it. And I'm going to try to get it up as soon as possible. I'll make sure to send it to you. One of
the things I want to learn. See, I remember that day. And again, for those of you who are listening, when we compete, there's no one who's a bigger critic about our techniques than we are. You know? So I don't like a lot of things that I've done. So I make it better. But that particular video, I remember doing different techniques that I want to remember, mostly angles that I want to mimic, because I think most people, what I loved about fighting at Lord of the Rings, I love, was that I had a chance to go into my repertoire of other techniques that haven't been used in many years. So they might have been a little rusty, but I was able to do things that most people had never seen me do because it wasn't allowed to do.
Right. We had no limits in as far as Lords of the Ring. I mean,
it was
very little
beautiful
rules, and it was exactly, yeah. We were like the USFL, all out. Just let it go, all offense, go all out. You're absolutely right.
Still, it wasn't sloppy and crazy. It was still quality.
No. It was really.
This is what people don't understand. They got to see it. See, it's easier for me to show them than to tell them.
Absolutely.
This was already done. So when people say, well, what are you talking about? Listen, just watch this, and then they see, oh my God, we can still do this. We can still do this. Get out of here. Yes. Next year, whether people like it or not, and forced by the general public, there's going to be a lot of people not only wearing rec suits, but winning rec suits.
Right.
And if none of the circuits over here are part of it, doesn't matter. The USAWMO is going to make a major presence because there's a lot of people that we have that disappeared because they did not want to have their students fighting in that nonsense. So now they're going to have a platform as an option. And we're not excluding anyone who wants to be part of this. When you mentioned the PK and kickboxing, Master Corley was in Canada with amateur kickboxing 4 weeks ago.
I saw that. Uh-huh.
Okay, well, that right there is something that I'm completely part of, when it comes to making apps of fights in the past and doing things in the future. I'm deep into that thing as being part of the so-called team to make things happen, not just point karate, but kickboxing or what I consider full contact karate the way it's, that I know it, like you just mentioned. And just for what it was worth, the USAWMO and the World Championships had what today they would consider point, continue, full contact, and even K1. So they have it there too. So for whatever's worth, there are options. And then I have a business model, and the rest is history. Sir, muchas gracias. I appreciate it. Only last thing is in the famous words of some crazy Puerto Rican from the Bronx, Mr. Reyes, when I say AB, you say see ya. AB.
See ya.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Take it easy,
hey, man. Listen, I'm gonna end it right here, but let me just continue for a second. So this officially ends the interview. Mira, muchas gracias, bro. I really, really, really appreciate it. I'm so happy that we had a chance to do this now, and thank you.
Thank you, Jerry, for having me. Thanks for bringing me on, man, and thanks for, everything you contributed to what I became. Believe me, you had a huge impact in my status, and I want to be like you. I want to.
Yeah, but you're motivating me. You're motivating me, bro. You see, this is the point. Anytime, and again, I've been a fly on the wall in many situations because obviously, I've been through some madness in recent years, but I'm good. But anytime I see you do something, I say, man, I love that. When you was doing those videos with your children, and I started doing videos with my children, I started doing the same thing. I say, coño, man, this freaking guy is really a good father. Like, that's probably the biggest thing I can honestly give someone as a compliment.
That's my biggest accomplishment. With everything I've done and, everything, I love it, but, there's nothing bigger than having to have raised my first two children on my own the way I did. And now, I got the little one coming up, too, and that's a whole different situation. But, Jerry, biggest accomplishment of my life. But had it not been for the martial arts and what I've done, the martial arts taught me that when you fall, you got to get back up and continue to fight. And that's pretty much, how I've raised my children. And, I totally understand you. But, man, thanks so much for everything you've done, man, for the sport and for me and for everybody, Jerry. And like I said, again, on record, Jerry, and I've been around the sport since the 70s, since I was little. And, the sport was, pretty new back then, without the equipment. I got to see that era. You're the greatest, no doubt, on record, man. Greatest Latino fighter, sport karate fighter that's ever come out, man. And that's going to stay like that, trust me.
Well, thank you. But, you know what I believe? This is how crazy I am. I believe I can get better.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
A lot of gas left in the tank.
Yeah, man.
Gas left in the tank. Yeah.
God really, really, really has been freaking great to me, man, because I'm 50 years young. years young. When I'm teaching people how to do techniques, and I'm like, listen, man, forget about possible. You have to do it. Lead by example. You know, you got to lead from the front, not like freaking, from the back, being a hypocrite. You know, show them how it was done, man. I know that's what happened too. Your father fought, bro. He promoted, he taught, and he fought. I was like, what? That is something that is incredible, man. So kudos to him. Yeah, like I said, I left him a message, and hopefully I'll get him. I know that he's in the middle of all the manners. Even if
you got a lot of stuff going on, Jerry. Trust me. Yeah.
I can always. My point is that he's on the schedule, and if for some reason we're able to do it sooner than later, great. If not, later, I'm not going anywhere.
Right.
I am not freaking going anywhere. As much as some people may want me to leave, like carajo con ellos, I'm not going anywhere except for the freaking top. So God gave me these skills, and I'm going to cultivate them. And I don't focus on the people who don't care. I focus on the ones who do. You know, my fans. I know.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's something that you're saying, but I know that's to be the truth, and it's a mutual agreement. And there's a mutual love and respect, and it's just keeping it real. And that's what I'm talking about. There's other people like that, too, that feel the same way about you and or me that we never even knew. I'm freaking out, man. I had a guy, Charles Bonet, Luis Fernandez instructor, who Luis Fernandez is the only Latino to ever win the Grand Champion at the All-Americans, Henry Cho's tournament, man. I mean, ridiculous. Only guy ever. And his instructor used to go, his instructor got his black belt or trained in Okinawa 10 months before Joe Louis got there with the same instructor, Chimabukuro. So here's a guy, a Puerto Rican a Puerto Rican that grew up in the Bronx who was doing things, and then he ended up doing movies, La Pantera. It was Black Dragon versus the Yellow Panther or La Pantera. And crazy stuff. And he did like 5 movies. He used to come by my school and watch classes while my students were teaching. I had no idea. Till the other day, I'm like, what? I'm his speaking ridiculous fan. And I didn't even know a lot of history. So we did a power talk, and it was 3.5 hours, man. Incredible. This is an ordained minister in Arizona now. My point is that there's so many other stories of people that we just never heard, and I want to hear the story because I'm a fan, and I want people to recognize that these people. You watch what I do, bro. You watch what I do. People are going to see videos and pictures and hear stories, and they're going to be like, oh, my God, I didn't know that judge was the real deal. And then when I'm telling the judges, like, listen, just come out and see what we're doing, and if you want to judge, you don't have to do anything different than what you did when you did in the 60s, 70s, 80s, or whatever. You don't have to give a point. Or slap in the shoulder, please don't give a point for that. Please more, let it go in the hoop. And I don't even have to tell these guys; they know the difference. So we're in a good position. I think that it's exciting. It's exciting, and I can't wait. When I see the Lord's video of me fighting, it won't be me fighting. That's fast feet. You understand? I'm Jerry Fontaine as a fan.
Absolutely.
I'm just a fan.
Absolutely.
Man. I'm just trying to learn.
Absolutely.
And for whatever it's worth, Bobby Harris, who's absolutely a great martial artist and competitor, but man, you handle him like the professional that you are. And he didn't expect that.
He
outweighed you by a lot.
See, Lord, back then, I was that ultimate weight class. Well, you didn't have to. It was like no weight class in that division I was fighting in. I remember that. We had that title, plus we had the divisional titles too, which you won the light heavyweight title that night. Yeah, it was good stuff, Jerry. I'm gonna find that video and put it up. You heard? For sure.
Because that thing there is history that people have to know. Not only did you compete, not only did you promote, you did them both, and it was done. It's not something you're gonna do. That's history already.
Right. I agree. Totally.
All right, buddy. God bless. Looking forward to meeting the family.
You got it, Jerry. I'll see you then. All right. I love you, brother. Thanks
Love
for everything.
You too, man.
You got it, man.
You're welcome.
Take care. Bye.